Welcome back to my channel, Custom Scrapbook Design by Christy Stubbs, and welcome to another installment of my Scrappin' Saturday series and Saturday morning makes. So I finally have decided I'm finished up with the Simple Stories, Simple Vintage Life in Bloom collection for 12 by 12 layouts anyway. I do have another project kind of in the works in my brain. I haven't even gotten it started working on it yet, but I'll be bringing you something sometime in the near future. And I decided to move on to the Simple Stories Wildflower collection. So I will link below. I do have this collection on my website. I did not order very much of it. I ordered the collection kit and the ephemera bits and pieces with all the florals you see there. And then I did order several of these papers individually because I tend to like to have more than one piece of the same pattern to be able to work with. So I have a very loose idea in mind, and I picked this cream color out of my stash. You can see it coordinates well, really well with the collection. And for this, I'm going to do something a little different. I have not used any multimedia on any of my layouts so far, and I am going to use some mica mist. Now, I already took some time and sprayed some samples of some different mica mists that I thought would work, and what I thought would work ended up not being what I thought. So this mica spray, I know just from past experience that my sprayer doesn't work really well on it. And I could put this in a different sprayer, but I am going to just kind of put a few dots, and I'm concentrating more on the middle area of this because I've got a plan for the outside edge. So I'm going to go ahead and spray both of these, and then we're going to set these aside to dry while we work on getting the rest of the paper cut and ready. So we'll set these aside. And then we're going to come back and start cutting some patterned paper. So for this layout, I want to pick probably, I'm gonna say maybe 4 of the different papers. And let's take a look. We've got the sticker sheet that coordinates with that. And of course, if you've followed along on my channel at all, you know I absolutely love the color pink. And there is, ooh, there's a pretty pink plaid in there, and there is a really pretty pink floral in here as well. So I'm pretty sure I want to use up some of that, and then we just need to pick which papers we want to coordinate with that. I'm not sure I want to go the matching, but what's on the other side of that one? There's the tigers. I like the floral side of that one better. And I think because I did do that kind of teal-y blue spray, we're going to use this one. And I think we'll use this lined one as well. And I think we may want to use some of these cut aparts. So I'm going to set that aside so that I don't end up using that piece. Same with those cut aparts. I like to be able to have those as an option to use. And then the tags, I'm going to set those aside as well. We've got the tigers and then the 3x4 cut aparts, which I want to save. Saving a lot of them. That's the thing with the collection pack, is that I usually find quite a few that I want to maybe not use up the pattern side because I want to be able to use the cut aparts. I think I want to pull this one in and this one. So maybe to change up the colors a little bit, those coordinate really well. Or we could even pull that one in. All right, so I think we have, boy, we might use this one too. I think we have our colors. So we are doing a 2-page spread, and I want it to fit 2x3 pictures, I believe. And I think we're going to try and fit about 5 pictures to a page. This layout is going to hopefully be a 2-page spread that'll hold a lot of pictures for you. So with that being said, this is going to be my main piece. So we're going to cut the branding strip off of it to get us started. And then I want a piece that is about 4 inches wide. So we'll cut that at 4. And we are doing a 2-page layout, so we're going to cut 2 of them at that 4. So we've actually got 3 pieces that measure 4 inches, and so we could choose, like this one's got a lot more floral on it than say this one. So we might kind of pick and choose which piece we want to use from that. And then I do want to shorten that up a little bit. And I think we're going to take them down to 10 inches. So we're going to take 2 inches off of 2 of those. So we've got that strip ready. And then I think, which strip do we want to go? Which paper do we want to coordinate next to that? I think possibly the gold and yellow. We're going to cut the branding strip off of that one. And then I want about a 2-inch strip of that. Now I'm going to cut these a little bit shorter as well. And actually, I think I'm only going to cut them at 11. So let's go ahead and cut our 2-inch strip. And we're going to want 2 of those as well. And then I'm just going to cut 1 inch off of those. So we're going to leave those a little longer. And we'll cut 1 inch off of this one. So they're 2 by 11. All right, and then we want to pick our next. Let's just make sure there's none of this that we want to keep. Oh boy. It's not directional on the other side. I really like this one, and I like this one down here, and I like this floral over here. So I don't actually need a very big strip of this. So I think we're going to start by cutting off the branding strip. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this first section of journaling bits off so that I can save those. And we're just going to cut out of this other section here. So that should measure 3 inches if I'm, yep. We're going to just go ahead and cut that at 1.5 inches. These smaller measurements are always a little bit more challenging for me. And actually, I'm going to cut off this other journaling bit. And then that cuts it at 6. This will make it easier. We'll turn it this way and we will cut it at 4.5. And again at 3. That makes lining that up a whole lot easier. And then I've kept all the 3 journaling pieces that I thought maybe I might want to use in the future. So we've got that. I'm not going to trim those. I'm going to leave those longer for now. I'm going to save the, no, that's my branding strip. I'm going to toss that. Okay, so we've got 3 out of 4 of our pieces cut. And what we've got left is this Wildflower, the butterflies, and then the like notebook looking paper. So if we're going to use the notebook paper, I'm assuming we're going to want it to go this direction rather than this direction. So we're going to go ahead and cut a piece that measures, let's see, we've got a piece that measures 4 to 1.5. I think we're just going to go with 1-inch pieces here. So line that up at the 1. And I'm just going to leave that full length as well. I think we're going to end up tearing that. So I want to just leave that to be able to do that after a bit. Okay. Let's see if our shimmer spray is dry. Okay. Yep, still a little bit wet. All right. So I'm going to leave that set aside still for a little bit. I don't want to mess with that. So I'm going to use this. It's going to make it a little more visually hard to see, but I'm going to use this to kind of line up what it is I'm wanting to do on the page so that we can see what our 12-inch piece looks like. I think we're going to keep that one even a little bit more narrow like that. And then again, like I said, I think we're going to rip some of these ends just to give it a little more texture and dimension. And then we're going to replicate that on the outside edge of our second page. But before we do that, I want to cut a few strips to go along this outside edge as well. And then we're going to line our 2x3 photos up. 3 of them here, 2 more of them coming out here. And then on the opposite page, I think that we'll actually put like 2 larger photos just to be able to fit some bigger photos in with that. So I'm going to pull, I think I'm going to pull some more of that cream color to matte the photos on. That might not show up though. We might want that to be, gotta wait for that base page to dry. We might even want that to be, maybe we want to set this all up on this plaid. Well, we'll give that a little bit of thought. Hopefully this shimmer will dry. All right, let's just set one here. Okay. So if we put photos on here, what color matte do we want? I think we're going to need to have a solid color matte, and I think that it's going to need to be kind of a darker color just so that it stands out against this base. So I'm going to check my stash and see what I can come up with. Maybe possibly this darker kind of dustier blue, or possibly even like this darker pink here. So I'm going to check that out and see what I can come up with. I'll be right back. Okay, I think I found a color that'll work. We're going to use this to matte the photos. And I think actually what we're going to do is double matte the photos. So we're going to have this as the background so that it'll stand up off of this back page. And then we're going to use this cream color again on top of this blue. And that'll help soften that color up a little bit. So these mats I am going to cut at 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. So these are going to be for a lot smaller pictures. And we're going to cut 5 of them this size and see if that's what we want to use. And we'll set those in place before we cut the blue backer, just to make sure that's going to work for us. So we'll kind of set all of that, just kind of willy-nilly on there. And then we're going to run 1, 2, 3, 4. That's kind of hard to see. 5. But that's exactly the look I was wanting for that. So now we'll go ahead and cut the next mat. And that mat we're going to cut at 2 1/2 by 3 1/2. So we're 8 1/2. So the 3 1/2 that way is probably going to space out the best, get the most use of the paper. So 2 1/2 by 3 1/2. These seem awfully small. It'll be a little more challenging to get pictures printed the right size. Or there's lots of times where you don't have, you know, such big pictures and you need to crop them down. So this will definitely accommodate the cropping of your pictures. So 2 1/2 by 3 1/2. All right, I've got 4 of them, so we'll cut one more. The 2.5. By 3.5. There, that's going to stand out nicely on that background. Plus, we're going to add some strips of paper over here as well, so they will pop up a little bit off of those pieces as well. So there's majority of the layout on the left-hand side. Now, the right-hand side, let's just flip this around as if we've got the right-hand side here. We'll set these aside and save those. And for this side, I think that we're gonna do 2 4x6 photos. So we're gonna cut this at, let's see what this measures to try and, we're gonna cut it this way at 6 1/4. And then we're gonna cut it this direction at 4 1/4. Now the reason I cut them that size is so that you can just take a 4x6 photo and put it on the mat and still have that nice little border going around the outside edge. So these are 4x6, 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. So now the blue mat, I need to cut 2 of them that are 4.5 by 6.5. And we should be able to go in half. And then we've got our 2 pictures to lay out. This, oh, well, let's see. Did I pick up the scrap or just cut something wrong? Let's take a look. Huh. No, I cut that one wrong. That's an easy fix. There we go. Now we've got the room for the 2 4x6 photos. Okay, so you're getting the idea kind of how that portion of the layout is going to go. We've got our photo mats figured out. And now I just want to cut a few more strips of paper just to go down this side. And I'm not going to want them to go quite as long. I think we're going to go quite a bit shorter and just have a few smaller strips and leave the inside of this open so that you can see this spritzing on here. And I actually think that I am going to spritz this a little bit more. I originally thought that this was going to be all that was showing, but I think I want to have some of that showing up on the outside edge as well. So before we move any further, I'm going to spray that so that that can dry while we're cutting the other strips. So this is a great little tip. I picked this box up at Michael's. It was one of their empty boxes sitting on the shelf. I asked him if I could take that with the rest of my purchases, and it works really good. These bigger pieces, of course, are a little more difficult, but you can put whatever you're wanting to spray inside the box so that you catch all of that excess or contain that excess spray. So I'm going to give this a little bit more spray, and I'm going to set that aside to dry yet again, and then we'll spray that second one. I didn't quite realize I wanted it on the outside until I got that laid out, but that's okay. All it takes is adding a little more to it and letting it dry. So we'll let that dry. And we'll cut some more strips. Okay. So we've got our 2 sets here. All right, and then I think we had, all right, we've got our 2 sets. We had one more 3-inch piece of that floral left over. So we're gonna cut that down. And we are going to cut off, we cut off 4 inches, that leaves us 8. I'm gonna cut that 4 off and keep that chunk because you never know. And then we're just gonna cut this one in half. So this one was at 4, we're gonna cut it at 2. And then we're gonna use that little strip, or we may turn it over and use this other side of it. Okay, and then let's cut ourselves another real thin strip of this. I think we're gonna go the 1 inch again. And then I think that we'll just go ahead and cut this one in half and just have the 6-inch height for this one. So then we've got our 2 strips. And then we've got our golden floral color here. And for this one, I think we're going to go right at 1.5 inches. I'm just pulling numbers. We'll see how it all lays out. We'll go 1.5 inches. And that's at the full 12 right now. I think we're gonna go ahead and take that one down to 6 as well. We may end up making that one a little shorter. And then the last one is that pretty blue. If I can find my cutoff from that one. So I've got this, oh, that's right. Aha. I've got my journaling pieces left. So let's take a look at those because I don't need the full length. I really kind of like all of these ones, so I want to keep that. And I really like this top one on here, but I could live without these bottom ones here. So let's save that top one. And then we've got this shorter piece here, and it is 3 inches. So we're going to cut it in half at the 1.5 inch mark. That does not look equal, but it's really not necessary. Oh my goodness, I really messed that up. What did I do, 1 inch? 1 3/8. Okay, so I'm off 1/8. That's okay. I will trim this one. And I'm not even going to measure. We're just going to trim a little sliver off. It's much closer. On the opposite pages, you won't even notice that they're not perfect. except I'm gonna still trim a little bit off because it's probably gonna drive me a little bit nuts. So let's trim another little sliver off. There is an easier way to do that. You could measure. I don't love to measure. You can't tell from this layout, but it's not my favorite. So now, as if the 12 by 12 sheet were here, this is going to be on one side, and then we're going to layer up the other side. And we're just going to layer these strips to however we like them. And let's see what, yeah, we definitely want to keep that side of that one. I think we'll just keep the side of that one. And then I think we need to pull more of this gold color over here. So we're gonna layer that one. And I think we're gonna tear this top and bottom. Nothing fancy about it. And I think we'll tear this one as well. And you can tear it however you want. I'm just kind of trying to make a nice jagged edge on that. And then we're going to want to do that on the opposing side as well. And they don't have to be the same length. So you can just tear those. Could use a tearing tool if you really wanted to. This is just as easy for these small little pieces. All right, and then our next step is to ink. However, before we ink, I think on the strips on the outside edge, we're going to do a little tearing on those too. And for those, I will pull out the tool. And I'm just going to tear a little bit off. Now doing it the way I'm doing it, it's hard to see where you're setting that. You just have to give it a good press and tear it off. And then we're going to tear this one too. Now this one with the lines on it, you can kind of see how far down you're going on it, which is helpful. Okay, so we've got those ones. And then let's tear this one. And we'll tear this one. And then we're going to ink everything. And I believe I'm going to use the vintage photo for the inking on this. So I'm going to go ahead and ink all of these, and then that way our paper is going to be good and dry by the time I get done inking all of this. And if you've watched any of my previous videos, I always pull in my mat that I purchased at the dollar store, and I have probably 6 of them floating around my craft room. I actually like to do my X-Acto knife cutting and any of my picture trimming with my Creative Memories system. Instead of pulling a big old mat out, I actually usually pull this one out. And then I also use it to ink on because it catches all of the sponge that tears off. And it doesn't matter if you've got a new sponge or an old sponge. Obviously an old one, there's a lot more that flakes off, but a new one starts to flake rather quickly, it seems like. So I just find it kind of contains or helps to contain the mess just a little bit better so you don't end up with ink in places that you don't want it. It appears as if everything is dry, so we can start layering our paper and putting our pages together. And I like to use my Creative Memories tape runner. I use it 90% of the time in my scrapbooking. If I'm doing cards or building custom books or that type of thing, I use something different. But for actual scrapbooking purposes, I tend to use it. So I am just going to come in about, maybe a half an inch from the edge, and I do end up repositioning a lot. So if I get this all done, I'm not going to press hard because I usually get it down and find that I've got something crooked still. So I like to be able to have the ability to reposition everything. So we're just going to layer all of these strips and try and get everything straight. And let's see. This one I want just to peek out, I believe. Something like that will work really good, actually. How did I have that? Somewhere like that. I want a little more of that gold to show. See, already starting, haven't even gotten very far and I'm tearing it up already. I want a little more of that golden flower to show. That's a real pretty print. Okay, so right along those lines, and then let's go ahead and put all of our mats together. Okay, and we're not going to want to put these down yet because we're going to want to put the rest of the strips on because we want these to end up sitting on top of them. So let's set those kind of aside and grab the remainder of our strips. And I did flip this one over. Thought it might be nice to pull in one more print. I did leave the others the same, mainly because of what's on the back side. I didn't feel like they really popped as much, and I didn't like these two coordinated together either. So I did leave those. And I think rather than center that, I'm going to pull that one up. I may change my mind and adjust that. Oh, it's a little bit crooked. Yep, I don't think I want this piece on the edge of that piece. I think we're going to pull that one to the inside. Maybe for that one we'll put it on top rather than underneath, like on the other side. And I think we're going to pull that one down too and offset that just a little bit. Yeah, somewhere in there. Okay, now let's take a look at the photo mats. I'm going to pull those over just a little bit tighter that way and pull these in more on that center. And then what I wanted to also look at was adding maybe a sentiment to it. So I'm not going to put down the photo mats yet because I want to lay the other page out as well. and just see how it lays out and where there will be an opportunity to put either a 2x2, a 3x4, or a 4x6 sentiment somewhere on the 2-page layout. So we'll get the mats put together first, kind of working a little backwards from the last page. And these do not have to be lined up exactly as the other page. In fact, on this side, I think I'm going to come down with this main piece instead of lining it up, just to give it a little variation when they're side by side. They're not exactly lined up. So let's find our other little pieces. There we go. And I'm just kind of randomly laying them. You just kind of look at it and you decide what you visually like. I did do that other side inside of there, but yeah, I think I'll go inside. Same as on the other page. There we go. I think that's, you know, just until you like it. Well, it looks like I might have smeared that a little bit, but that's okay because we're going to end up covering that up. I'm not even close to what the other side looks like on this side, and that's okay. I like the way that that looks. All right, and then we're going to put this outside piece down, all of these on this side. And I am going to try and center it top to bottom and leave the same amount of space on this outer edge as I did on the other one. These ones are a lot more similar in size, so I am going to try and make them fairly similar. And on this one, I did tuck this piece under. And it appears I've got them about the same size, and on the other side, they are not. So I'm going to just rip off a little bit more and try and get them just varying in size just a little bit more. And I'll re-ink that edge and then tuck that under there. Yeah, I think that'll work. Stick some adhesive on there, tuck it under, try and get it on there straight. I'm just looking at the reveal on the bottom piece, and then we need to adjust this top piece and straighten it out. And we want a little more of that to show. Maybe more like that. All right, we've got some crooked pieces here. Just gonna set them until I can see if we've got them straight. It still seems slightly crooked. They're gonna stick that down. Okay. So now we've got all of our strips put down, and here are our 4x6. And we're gonna go this direction with them. I think we'll go like that, actually. And maybe we'll go up high on that one and there. And let's take a look at a sentiment for here. Now there were a couple when I pulled the paper out earlier that I really liked. So let's check those out. I like this inspired. I really like, boy, I'm like a lot of them actually. So now it's just a matter of picking one, and that's a little bit off. I like the Courage, Dear Heart. Shine Your Own Light. We could do that. I did pull that paper into there. We could do some tags. Or, let's see, we still have the 4x6s as well. And I kind of like this Beauty in Every Day, and it might fit right here. Let's cut it and see what it looks like. I may change my mind and try and go with something smaller because it does take up quite a bit of space. However, there is some room to kind of trim it down to be a little smaller than the 4x6 as well if we wanted to. So let's just take a peek. You never know. I like to preview my pages. That's what I like to call it. We preview that page before we get it all set in place. And I think that's a little big, and I'm not sure I like it lined up there with everything. So what about if we, instead of lining all of those up, maybe offset them a little bit more? That's not bad. Let's just line that back up and see what we think. We could just add a couple tags to the layout. And I actually think that might be what we do. Yeah, before we do that, let's cut out this 4x4. See what we think of it. Let's trim the branding strip off. I like this because it pulls that background color, even though they don't match 100%. I think that they go really nicely together. And we could put something behind that to make it stand out just a little bit more. And I kind of like these offset rather than lined up. Okay, so we've got that. And then let's take a quick peek at these little 2x2s. So this is the best. And we could add any of these, maybe a little square up there and maybe a little square down here to kind of tie it together. And then we could always add a few of the florals as well, just kind of tucked behind everything. So I think that's the way to go with this. I'm going to trim this 4x4 down just a little bit. You can trim a little bit at the bottom. I think I'm going to try and get it down to about maybe just a 1/4 of an inch off of there. Let's take a look at how that trims up. And maybe we can use something from our cutoffs. And we do have this piece, which is darn near perfect. We could just use that size, and I think we will. And I think we will also take, and we're going to mat that again. And we're going to mat that on the cream color. We're going to add that cream color in between. If I can find a scrap of that. I was pretty sure I had a small piece of that left. Let's see if I can find it. Yes. So we've got a small piece of that left. We'll mat the blue onto there, and then we'll mat it onto that pink. And that'll really help to pop that off the page. So before we do that, I'm going to ink this. And then I'm going to go ahead and actually, let's see, we got this down to 3.5 by 3.5. And this measures 4 by 4. So we're going to go 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 with this mat. That pink in just to be sure. Yep, we're going to go ahead and ink both of these. Got to be able to see it a little bit better. Too much stuff on my workspace. I don't know about you guys, but I can start out with a really clean workspace, and 5 minutes into my layout, I can't find a thing, and I've got one heck of a mess going on. Creativity in the chaos. Okay. There, I am liking the way that is looking. So I think we're ready to go ahead and hook down this side. I feel like it's pretty good. I'm not gonna hook the picture mats down really tight because we're going to tuck some florals, I think, down underneath some of them. So I want to be sure that we're able to do that. Okay, I think that looks fairly good. So we've got that there, the 4 by 4. And then let's see, we were going to cut a 2 by 2 apart to go on this other one. Either that or, you know, those little journaling bits that I kept that I liked so much. Let's take a peek at those and see if any of those work. That's too light. I might use that one there. Give us a nice little journaling spot without it being right directly on the page necessarily. And then let's just cut these. I'm not necessarily picking which ones I'm going to use. I want to look at the size and see how they're going to fit up there and see how many of them will fit up there, if we're going to do a little collage of them, or we're just going to pick one, or what. But let's take a look at what a couple of them would look like. If we offset that, we'll put our little journaling box right down there. I kind of like the look of two of them. So now we just need to pick the two that we want to use. So I think we're going to pull this gold one here, this little stamp here. And I think we're going to pull this lighter blue as well. We're going to save these ones for another project. Okay, looks like I got a little tiny smidge of yellow on there. I just trim that just a smidge. Okay. Actually, I think we'll go the opposite way. We'll put the yellow up there, pull this blue down here. And if we do that, let's see if we've got a little scrap of that blue matting that we used. And we'll mat this one on the blue. And I think we can mat this one on this cream color, and once we ink it, it'll stand out enough here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to ink those and cut the mats. Okay, so let's go ahead and hook our mats down because we're pretty good with where we've got those. That top is crooked. We're going to fix that. Must have cut that a little crooked. Or just put that on there a little crooked. Let's pull that up. Okay, that looks a little better. Reset that one up in the corner. And then we need to mat this too, I think. And we're going to go ahead and ink that, and we are going to mat that on the blue. I hope I have another little scrap of that left, and I do. Let's see, it's going to be this one. Let's ink that. We'll go ahead and attach it, and then I'm going to trim it. Looks like it's a little wider. We're going to have to go just a little narrower. There. We'll ink that, and then that piece is ready to put down. And then we can do just a little bit of embellishing. And I'm going to use the florals from the Bits and Pieces collection. And then I also think that this page might call for some, either some gems or some pearls, or maybe, something, but that I'm going to pull from my stash. I didn't actually get like the enamel dots that coordinate with this collection, which now I'm kind of regretting that decision, because I think some enamel dots in this collection would be perfect to kind of scatter in a few spots. So maybe I can find some in my stash that will work instead. Let's take a look at the florals. The more I look at this, the more I'm thinking maybe it might be about done. Like, I'm not sure if we really need to add. Oh, yeah, maybe we do. I'm always second guessing. Always second guessing myself, thinking we don't need to have something, and then once I stick it on there, I kind of like it. And maybe we just want a smaller floral over here. Kind of coordinate that. We could pop that up on some foam. Could even pop that one, either tuck it or pop it up on some foam so that it's up on top of everything there. Got some really beautiful florals in here. Maybe we'll just ink that one and lift it up as well. Same with that one. Or we could coordinate on both sides of that. Really got some beautiful florals in here to work with. I don't think the page needs a ton, so we'll just use a few florals, ink those up. I'll see if I can find some enamel dots to kind of add the finishing touches to it. And then we'll be done with this layout. This, I thought I was going to have a harder time working with this collection because it's really got a lot of big floral pattern to it. But boy, this collection is absolutely gorgeous. I really, really liked working with it. I'll be bringing you guys at least one more layout utilizing this collection. I think we'll do the floral there, a little piece there. We've got a couple pieces there. And maybe we'll just pop a little flower down in the corner there. These cut aparts are beautiful. next one to my stash, and I've got these little flat back sequins, and I think a few of these added will add a little pop since I don't have any of the coordinating enamel dots. And that's okay. We're going to make something else work. And you know, if you don't have them, you can always find some sequins or something like that, and that you've already got in your stash. And let's see, I'm going to hit the page with a little dot. And I think these will just add just a little bit of sparkle to the page. And we all could use just a little bit of sparkle. So I'm just going to randomly place a few of these throughout the page. And then we are done. I hope you guys have been enjoying this Scrappin' Saturday series. I am sure enjoying bringing you the layouts every Saturday and also participating in Sat Morning Makes. So be sure to check out the hashtag SatMornMakes, and you will find all of the other fun crafters and designers there, and you can see what they have been up to lately. And this is an open collaboration that is hosted by Jillian Norwood. And every Saturday, other crafters, designers come on and share their projects, whether it be a tutorial or just a product share. So it's kind of fun to see what everybody else has been up to for the week or on Saturdays, and get a little bit of inspiration and get some of your own creativity kind of going. So be sure to check all of them out. I will link Jillian's YouTube channel below so you can check out her channel and see what she's doing. And if you haven't already subscribed to her channel, be sure to do so. She's got a lot of wonderful content there, and it never hurts to go back and watch some of the older videos as well. She's got some great tips and tricks and ideas out there for everyone. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would absolutely love it if you would, and I appreciate any tips or tricks you guys may have or any feedback that you have. I will be coming back again next week with this same collection, and we'll put together another layout, see what we can come up with for a layout, utilizing some of the papers that we didn't use this Saturday. All right, I think that looks like enough. Just a little touch of the gold sparkle to go along with the rest of the layout. Doesn't need much. And I hope you enjoyed this Saturday's layout. And I'll be back again next Saturday with another installment of my Scrappin' Saturday series and Saturday Morning Makes. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this Saturday morning. I will see you soon. Bye for now.